I am outdoors today enjoying some beautiful sunny weather, and I am very excited because today is my very first crafting video ever since moving up here to the homestead. Hey there, my name is Yami and I am your Latina next door. Today I am collaborating with some of my YouTube friends and we are bringing you a Christmas in July collaboration. This is something that we have done for a few years now, and even though it might be early for some of y'all to start thinking about Christmas, it's always fun to do one of these videos during the summer heat to get our minds off of this heat, as well as getting us just inspired and looking forward to the seasons that come. I'll have the link to the playlist where you can access everybody's video who joined in on the collaboration and you can enjoy lots of Christmas inspiration. Now, I'm going to be honest, the only way I could pull this video off is because I already had some footage from when I was staying at my parents' house. I had filmed some of these projects back then, but they never made it out. So I'll have some footage of me crafting at their house as well as some footage from me crafting here. And I hope you guys really enjoy what I have to share. So let's get started. So for this very first project, I am going to be creating a dupe, and I found this beautiful pinecone wreath at Serena and Lily. It was on sale for $200, but I knew we can do this ourselves for much less. The first thing I'm going to need is a wreath form, and I picked this one up at my local Dollar Tree for $1.25. You can always use larger or smaller ones depending on what you want to make for this. And then I also picked these pine cones up from the craft section at Hobby Lobby. These were from last year when everything went on sale, and I know I picked these up for half off. You're going to need 2 of these bags. Then I picked this up, and if you guys don't have one of these, this is so convenient for crafting, putting your paint down, or even holding your glue gun and it catches all the drips. So I thought I'd share this little tray and how handy it can be, and you'll see me use it later on in the video. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the entire wreath form in some brown acrylic paint. This way, when I glue the pine cones onto the wreath form, if there are any little areas that I happen to miss or not be able to cover completely, you will not see any green shine through. Once the paint is completely dry, you're going to begin to hot glue your pine cones onto the entire front surface of your wreath. Just place a small amount of hot glue and then hold each pine cone down for a few seconds until it dries and stays on the wreath. Try to get these pine cones as closely and tightly as possible to each other so that it looks as full and nice as possible. Make sure you try to reach the back as much as possible without going to the back of the wreath so that wherever you hang it or set it down, it lays flat. Next, you're going to need to make a bow, and I found this ribbon at Dollar Tree for only $3, and it had a nice velvety texture just like the one from the inspiration, so I decided to go ahead and use this green one. Of course, you can always use any color that you want. I usually take 2 pieces of ribbon and lay them down over themselves to create the 2 top bow sections, one a little bit smaller than the other, and then I lay the smaller one on top. I cut those individual pieces together, and then I kind of cinch the center, and using some string or jute or twine, whatever you have, tie the center together to hold that bow in place. I fluff up both ends of the bow, and then I take a separate piece of ribbon and I use that for the center and the little legs that kind of just hang down. I wrap it around the center of the bow, and using hot glue, I hold everything in place. The last thing I did was cut a little bit of that same ribbon and put it on the back of it in order to create a little loop so that I can hang my wreath. And here is how it turned out. And for my look for less dupes, I always like to share a side by side. And in this case, the original was $200 on sale, and mine only cost $9.25. That was 2 bags of pine cones at $5 each, but they were both half off. 1 wreath form, and of course the ribbon. If you want to make this larger, it'll cost you a little bit more, but you're still making huge savings. Let me know how I did. Alright, so for this next DIY, we're going to be using these craft ornaments, also from Hobby Lobby. I am really excited about these because I have been wanting to make these for a while. Now, these are $1.99, but you can get them for half off, and you know that I did. Also, don't forget that if you have any old ornaments that you no longer like, you don't like the color, you can always use those and change them up. The next thing is you're going to need are 2 different colors. I decided to go with a matte white and a beautiful sagey green like this one right here. And the first thing you're going to do is take one of the colors. In this case, I decided to put my white on top and start painting the top 2/3 of the ornament. Now, as of right now, you don't need to worry about creating a straight line. Once you reach the bottom part of the ornament, you can leave that rough. We will address that in just a bit. Once the white paint is dry, then you're going to go in with your second color. And this is where you kind of try and make a nicer little line or division between the two. But still, you don't have to be perfect. Just try to do as best you can and get that line as close as possible to where you want it, and just paint your little heart away. I think the best part of this DIY is that you don't have to have any painting skills. This is going to be as easy as it gets. Also, a big help when painting these round ornaments like this, they can easily pop out of your hands. And if you have a plastic cup like I have right here, they will hold down the entire ornament and you can grab onto it a little bit better. Alright, for the next part of the project, and once all the paint is dry, I am going to take some washi tape, and I found this at Hobby Lobby, and it was on sale for, I believe, 40% off. Now I'm going to use a 3rd color for this, and I decided to go with that really nice tan brown color. However, if you've ever worked with washi tape, you do notice that it is kind of see-through. And I didn't want that demarcation between both paint colors to show through the tape, so I decided to add a border of the white washi tape down first so that I can kind of hide that line a little bit better before I added my tan, beige, brown line, whatever you want to call it. After that first line was down, I began to add my second color, and I went all the way around, being careful to only go over the top of that first white piece of tape, so I had a nice crisp line between both colors. Now, because the sphere is rounded, it's not going to lie perfectly flat. Just do your best at trying to stretch it all the way around and keep it as tight as possible to your ornament. Now you can still see a little bit of that line of demarcation between the two paints underneath the brown tape, so I decided to go ahead and give it a second twirl around the ornament. So I ended up with 1 layer of white tape and 2 layers of brown tape each. After I adhered the tape, I just went back around with my nail and tried to get that tape as flat as possible all the way around the ornament. And that's basically it for this. Just repeat this for how many ornaments you wish to have.
We stay up waiting for Santa tonight. He climbs down the chimney at the speed of light while we're dancing around the Christmas tree, hugging and kissing just you and me. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before.
Okay, so for this next DIY, we're going to be using this glass vase that I got at Goodwill for $3.09. I love the size and I love the shape. Of course, you can use any glass container that you have at home or anything that you see at like a dollar store. It'll work perfect for this. I cleaned it up really good and removed the label. Now you can definitely do this with a Cricut very easily, but I don't have mine. It's all packed up. So I'm going to show you how to do this without one. The first thing I did was find a tree form online. Just a simple black silhouette will suffice in the shape that you want. And then you're going to cut it out of your piece of paper like I'm doing right here. This is a little bit more labor intensive, but I promise the steps are very simple. Once your tree form is cut, you're going to take that tree form and you're going to take some inexpensive contact paper from the dollar store and you're going to trace that onto your contact paper. Now, of course, if you can run contact paper through your printer, I would just print it on your printer, but mine doesn't do that, so I had to go this long route and cut the tree twice. Once you cut your tree form, you're going to peel it and you're going to place it on your vase. Just make sure that it's nice and straight. Then make sure that all corners and absolutely everything is adhered properly onto your glass. Next, we're going to take this project outside and we're going to take some frosted glass spray paint and we are going to spray this beautiful vase all over. Now, whenever I spray paint, I like to start with the bottom of the project first, and I like to get it nice and sprayed evenly, dried, and then flip it over on its other side. Take your time with this one, work in thin layers, and make sure you have everything covered before you flip it and spray paint it from the other side, just to make sure that you have nice, even coverage throughout the entire vase. Once it's completely dry, bring it inside and peel off that little Christmas tree to reveal the window that we just created. You can fill this up with ornaments, fairy lights, a candle, you name it. And you can do this with any kind of form for the winter, like a snowflake. And I think it's just darling. Here is how it turned out. Now, it might be a little hard to see the actual Christmas tree. I'm trying my best to get all different angles so that you can see what it looked like in the end. Alright, so I am going to call this my macrame bee ornament because I don't really do macrame. I don't know how, but I do think it is pretty in some applications. And I was inspired by so many of them that I saw online and I decided to recreate one. And what you're going to need is one of these larger plastic ornaments that you can find at Dollar Tree. Hobby Lobby also carries these in bulk, and sometimes when they're on sale you can get them even cheaper. So I would look out for those. And then you're going to need some jute string, really simple, or some baker's twine. Actually, I think this is baker's twine. But this I had left over, and I am just going to be using this for this application. And as you can see, I don't even have craft scissors. These are my kitchen scissors, you guys. I'm trying my best to work with what I got. Next, you're going to cut 9 pieces of this string, and you're going to make them a little long because you want them to kind of wrap and hang down from your ornament. I didn't measure, but if I'm guessing, it was probably about 1.5 feet. Now, if you plan on doing more than one ornament, definitely do 10 because you're going to need one of those strings as your guide for cutting the following ornaments strings. But for each one, you're only going to need 9. Then you're going to take one of your strings and lay it across your surface, and then the other 8 you're going to do the little loop-de-loop thing where you place it underneath and then just bring both legs through and then just pull to tighten it. So you're going to have 1 horizontal string and 8 verticals.
Jingle bells ringing in my ear. Jingle bell, a sound that's oh so dear. Frosty the snowman is all around town. Watch out for reindeers are falling down.
You're going to end up looking with something like this. Next, you're going to put your ornament on top of a cup in order to stabilize it a little bit, and you're going to take that horizontal string and wrap it around the top portion of your ornament, and you're going to tie it in a knot on one end. Now that piece that you just tied off, you're not going to cut it off. You're going to let it hang down like the others, and that's going to be your 9th piece that hangs down your ornament. Next, just space out all of the other strings evenly throughout the top of the ornament. Next, lift your ornament up and hold all of the strings at the bottom of the ornament. And then before you do anything else, make sure that all of the strings are laying nice and flat. There's none that are like twisted over on each other, and everything looks nice and evenly spaced out. Make sure to hold the bottom of that string very, very tight. Then take a smaller piece of string and just try to do your best to knot it with one hand. Yes, it's a little bit tricky, but I promise you can do it. And again, just tie that second smaller string into a knot and secure all of the other pieces. Now, after I place a knot on that little piece that holds all of the strings together, I like to take one of the legs and wrap it around several times just to create a nice little, bunch or ponytail almost. And then I tie those 2 end pieces together and then let them hang. And then I measure out about 2 inches of the strings and cut off the excess. At this point, you can go ahead and put back the topper of the ornament. You can leave it as is. You can paint it a different color, but I decided to just go ahead and leave it. And since I didn't have any small ribbon, I just took that same ribbon that I used for the wreath and cut them down into small strips and used that to hang my ornaments. Once this is done, here is how they turned out. Now for this following one, this is really simple, and you just need any simple container that you might have on hand. And I have this sweater ribbon that I got at Michael's clearance last Christmas, and it's regularly $16.99, but I know I got it at least 60% off if I remember correctly. But I cut off a piece that will go around the bucket so I can wrap it up like a nice cozy little sweater, but we're not going to leave it as is. You can certainly just do this and leave it like that, but we're going to add a little bit of embellishment so that it can go with the rest of my decorations. Now I'm going to take that same green velvety ribbon and I am going to put it on top of this and I am going to cut it down to size. I also had another bag of these pine cones, so I decided to go ahead and use it for this. Now, using a hot glue gun, I decided to adhere these together and I decided to create a little star form. I was kind of going for a snowflake, but that was a little difficult, so star it was. And I tried to keep each of the pine cones the same size so it would all look nice and even. I ended up doing 5 legs for the star and then 1 in the center to hide the little opening that was left over. I had a little bit of excess glue that I was trying to remove. Let me tell you, working without a craft room has its challenges when you don't have all of the little tools you're used to having on hand. Next, I took both the little sweater ribbon and the green ribbon and wrapped it around my little bucket. Now, I did my best to use some hot glue to adhere both ends together. If I would have been in my craft room, I would have sewn this because y'all know I like to sew my fabric pieces, not hot glue them, but hey, this is what we got going on. So I applied the hot glue to the ends and just kind of folded it over so I didn't have any unfinished ends showing through, and then just glued both ends to stay on the bucket. Then when that was done, I did the same thing with the green ribbon. Next, I adhered the little star that I made out of pine cones and placed it right on top of the green ribbon. It's a simple concept, but this is a fun way to add a new color to your decorations this year and kind of incorporate different pieces to all come together. All you gotta do now is add some greenery to the bucket and you're set. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below which one of these DIYs was your favorite. Don't forget to check out the playlist in my description box with everyone else's videos so you can enjoy even more Christmas fun. Thank you all for being here. I hope you're well, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, adios.